a denominational movement, or a super-religious movement for peace. This distinction became starkly clear in 2008. These days, I know that all the blessed families around the world are spending difficult days, deeply worried and confused, losing sleep at night. I understand that discussions are going on everywhere about why these current difficulties have arisen, who is at fault, and what went wrong. But if you think about it carefully, this issue is not a confusion caused by a single incident or a specific period that society is currently focusing on. For major and difficult problems, in order to solve them, we must return to the fundamentals and look at the whole picture again. That's where we can find clues. To reflect on where our current unification movement went wrong, I have a special material to introduce to you today. The material I'm about to introduce is from the third volume of Chairman Moon Hyun Jin's lecture collection, published in June 2011, titled The Realization of God's Dream. It contains the content of a special report letter that Chairman Moon Hyun Jin submitted to the True Parents on March 23, 2008. In early 2008, Chairman Moon Hyun Jin was completely united with the True Parents and was actively leading a global movement, making the Foundation Day on January 13, 2013, the standard for father-son cooperation. It was a time when all the blessed families of the unification community were receiving more education from Hyun Jin Nim, feeling hope, and our movement was truly becoming more vibrant and passionate. But the reason why this letter that Hyun Jin Nim sent in early March 2008 is so important to us now is because, in fact, it was from this letter onward that the division within the unification movement, as we talk about it, began to surface in earnest. What was it about the contents of this letter that made it such a catalyst for the division within the unification movement? So what exactly was in it? It was a comprehensive report and master plan presented to True Parents, detailing how, in the roughly 4 years remaining until Foundation Day on January 13, 2013, our entire Providential Foundation and all unification movements would plan, unite, and strive together to truly achieve that goal. When True Father received this letter, he was so overjoyed that, in fact, he held Hoondok Hay sessions with this letter for several days. He even instructed that all leaders must read and study this letter. As you read this letter for yourselves from now on, you will clearly understand, but to sum up the core content of this letter in one sentence, it addresses the direction our unification movement should take from the beginning of 2008 onward. Hyun Jin Nim says this. He emphasizes that the legacy Father has built throughout his life, God's will, and the purpose of the unification movement should not remain as just one denomination, but must become a movement of universal values and truth that unites all humanity as one family centered on God. At the same time, he questions why our movement is aiming to become just a single denomination called the Unification Church. Because these issues exist within us right now, the message contains the idea that we must completely resolve them and move forward as a true unification movement. What's unusual is that, even though True Father was so pleased and had high hopes that all the leaders would move forward together in line with this message, less than a month later, on April 18th, Mr. Hyun Jin Moon was suddenly inaugurated as the world president of the Family Federation. Mr. Hyun Jin Moon's appointment as world president of the Family Federation for World Peace and Unification was implemented without informing Chairman Hyun Jin Moon. After taking office, Mr. Hyun Jin Moon, many of you probably remember this, boldly declared that we should clearly identify ourselves as the Unification Church. Then what did he do next? He indiscriminately brought various religious rituals into our theological movement, trying to lead our movement as a kind of sect whose roots and identity became impossible to discern. Meanwhile, during the year 2008, Hyun Jin Nim traveled all around the world, demonstrating, just as Father had said, that a movement transcending any single denomination, a truly interreligious, God-centered one family under God movement, is indeed possible in this era. Throughout 2008, he carried out activities that clearly demonstrated that an era has arrived in which all leaders of the world, political leaders, economic leaders, NGO leaders, and religious leaders, can agree on such a vision. In 2008, it became clear whether this would become a denominational movement, or whether it would go beyond denominations to become a fundamentally interreligious movement for God's ideal family and peace. Within our unification movement, there were many different opinions about which direction we should take toward Foundation Day in the future. If you read this letter carefully, you'll be able to understand in detail the situation within our unification movement back in 2008, and I think it will give you a chance to reflect on how the current confusion started from that time and what fundamental issues caused it. I also hope that all blessed families and members will take this opportunity to reflect on what the fundamental purpose of our lifelong faith has been. I sincerely hope that, with these points in mind, there will be many conversations and discussions among families, fellow believers, and friends about what the foundation of our unification movement has been, and where we need to start correcting things in order to resolve the current confusion. Thank you.